Hello students, once again I welcome you all. In this session you will learn classification of English consonant sounds. Friends, in the previous class I discussed about in general the consonant sounds in English, and I also put an effort to make it clear how the consonants are really studied as far as three-term labels are concerned. So I talked about what is a voiceless and a voiced sound, what is the place of articulation of a particular sound, and I also highlighted on the manner of the articulation of sound. So in this class, I will just proceed further, and as I promised earlier, that I will focus on each and every consonant with a detail or a kind of description which is expected for every sound here. So now I am going to share my screen to all of you so that you can also see my presentation on your screen. And here I am going to start with the very first slide. If you remember, I told you about the three-term label descriptions of every sound. Once again, I repeat, three-term label descriptions means there are three different labels assigned to the kind of description made up of a particular sound. So here, label 1 is either a voiceless sound or a voiced sound. Number 2, you have the place of articulation, that is the second label description. And the third, you have the manner of articulation. So when you bring all these three labels together for a particular sound, that means the three-term label description of that particular sound. So now I will try to explain each and every sound of consonant category more particularly, so that you will be able to understand whether the sound is a voiceless sound or a voiced sound. Number 2, you will also come to know the three-term label second, that is the place of articulation, and you will also learn the manner of articulation. Let us look at the first pair here. It is already highlighted on your screen. You can see that is P and B. So I make an announcement for all the students here. We studied English script or English letters right from the early schooling. But mind it well, whatever sounds I am going to teach you, they are not the letters of English script. Moreover, they are the sounds, and these sounds are provided by the IPA in the form of some symbols. So when I mention here that looks like alphabet P, but it is not P or B. Moreover, it is a kind of symbol, and that symbol has its own specific pronunciation. So please never call it P or B. Call it P and B. How do you call it? P and B. So each of the sound I have already, developed or designed a few diagrams for your better understanding. And that diagram also I have flashed on your screen by the sharing mode. And each and every diagram I will try to explain you so that you will understand this concept better. Now, the first symbol P and the second one is B. First of all, you need to understand that whenever I teach you in pairs, the first sound is always a voiceless sound and the second sound is always a voiced sound. Whenever I teach you in pairs, it means that that particular sound belongs to one particular category, and that's why that is being taught to you in pairs. So you need to remember that also. So see now, P and B. P is a voiceless sound, whereas B is a voiced sound. Both the sounds are bilabial sounds and both the sounds are plosive sounds. So the three-term label description one is you need to identify whether the sound is a voiceless sound or a voiced sound. That is label number one. Label number two, you need to identify the place of articulation, means where does the articulation actually takes place. That is bilabial. Bi means to, labial means lips. Means at the closure of the lips of lower and upper lip, that particular production is taking place. So it is called bilabial sound. And since there is a minor considerable explosion of air, so it is called a kind of plosive sound. So all these things I have explained you in my previous class. So please, once again, you can also listen to or you can also watch the video once again in order to understand this particular concept better. So let us study now. See, in this particular diagram that I have attached along with the description here, both the lips are shown together. It means there is a closure, there is a contact between the upper lip and lower lip. When you bring both the lips together, that contact or the closure is created. And when the pulmonic air that comes from the human lungs is being stopped, is being prohibited in the mouth cavity, you can try to pronounce it. P, B, P, B. You will notice that the amount of air that is coming from the lungs is being stopped in the mouth cavity with the help of the closure of the lips, that is lower lip and upper lip. Both the lips are the active articulators in this respect. But when you release the closure, there is a minor but considerable explosion of air. And that's why this sound is called a plosive sound. So how is the description of this one then? So P is a voiceless, bilabial, plosive consonant sound. Whereas B is a voiced, bilabial, plosive consonant sound. Now let us look at whether this one is voiceless or that one is voiced, whatever. Now you see here, you do one simple activity. Put your fingers on your vocal cords. Put couple of fingers on your vocal cords and try to pronounce P, B, P, B. You will make a difference between the two, that in the case of P, the vibration which is taking place in the vocal cords or Adam's apple is less. Whereas when we produce the second sound B, the vibration in the vocal cords is quite considerable. And that's why P is voiceless and B is voiced. This is the description of the first pair, that is P and B. Now, switch over to the another pair here, that is T and D. Don't call it T and D. Both are the symbols as I explained earlier. T, D, T, D. So T is voiceless, D is voiced. You can again do that activity. Keep your couple of fingers on your vocal cords or Adam's apple and try to pronounce t, d, t, d. In the case of t, vibration is not that considerable, but in the production of d, the vibration of the vocal cords is quite considerable. And that's why t is voiceless, whereas d is voiced. So let us see the three-term label description here. T is a voiceless, alveolar, plosive consonant, and D is a voiced, alveolar, plosive consonant sound. Now you need to understand what is the second three-term label, because which one is voiceless and which one is voiced you have understood better. Now you look into the second one, that is alveolar. Both the sounds are alveolar sounds and plosive sounds. What do you mean by alveolar? Alveolar is actually a passive articulator, but your tongue is an active articulator. What happens in the case of this particular sound when we try to articulate? The blade of the tongue or the front of the tongue leads towards the alveolar ridge, makes a contact with the alveolar ridge, and the amount of air that comes from the human lungs is being stopped at the closure created by the alveolar ridge and the blade of the tongue or front of the tongue. And that closure, once released, makes an explosion of the air, and then we are in a position to pronounce t, d, t, d. You can have this practice for a couple of times. You will realize that it is actually happening when we are using our entire phonatory system for the production of t and d. So minutely or carefully look at the diagram. It will explain you so many things there. So how do you read out this one then? The first one is t. T is a voiceless, alveolar, plosive consonant sound, and D is a voiced, alveolar, plosive consonant sound. So let us switch over to the another pair from the same category, that is plosive. As I said, there are 6 plosive sounds in English phonatory system. So far, these 6 are concerned. Purba, already we studied. Tada, we have just before we studied. And then the third pair is K, G. Please don't call it K and G. It is a symbol actually for K and G. K, G, K, G. Now, please carefully look at the diagram that I have shown just below the description for K and G. K is a voiceless sound, whereas G is a voiced sound. When you try to produce K, the vibration in the vocal cords is not that considerable. But when you try to produce G sound, the vibration in the vocal cords is quite considerable. That's why K is voiceless and G is voiced. Both are the velar plosive sounds. So the rest of the description remain the same. Only there is a difference between whether it is voiceless or voiced, that's all. So let us look at this now. Why do you call it a velar sound? That is also equally important. So when you produce this sound or when you try to articulate this sound, the pulmonic air that comes from the human lungs is coming through the vocal cords and finds an obstruction in the mouth cavity, especially a closure created by the passive articulator, that is palate, and the active articulator, that is tongue. What happens actually? Look at the screen or look at the diagram. Back of the tongue raises towards the velar and makes a closure or a contact there, the air that comes from the human lungs is stopped over there, and when the contact is released, the explosion or the plosion of air takes place, and then we are in a position to pronounce k and g. You will realize it now. Try to produce these three sounds separately. Let us follow me. P, b, closure that of lips. T, d, closure that of alveolar and front of the tongue. Now you see k, g, k, g. Back of the tongue is raised towards the velar, touches to the velar, makes a contact and a closure there. And when the air is released, then only we can pronounce that particular sound. So this is how we studied these 6 velar plosive sounds, or plosive sounds, I would say. Pb, td, and kg. These are the 6 plosive sounds in English phonetary system. Let us switch over to the another pair. Here we study affricate consonant sounds. We have a couple given here, that is ch, j, ch, j. See, don't call it like T and D, D3, something like that. Okay, again and again I am trying to repeat it because you should not be mistaken, and you should call it as it is recommended by International Phonetical Association. So call it, the first one is ch and next one is j. Ch, j, ch, j. Both should be pronounced at the palato-alveolar position only. Now let us try to understand, and please be very careful about the reading of the diagram also, because the exact location of the articulation of the sound is clearly pointed out in these diagrams that I have designed on the computer for your better understanding. And look at that now. Ch is a voiceless sound, whereas j is a voiced sound. Again, you can do that practice as I suggested. Put your couple of fingers around the neck or else your Adam's apple. Try to pronounce ch and j, ch, j, ch, j. At the time of the production of the next sound, that is j sound, you will realize that the vocal cords are creating a kind of buzz. That buzz is nothing but a kind of considerable vibration done by the vocal cords or the pair of vocal cords, and that's why the second sound is a voiced sound. So ch is a voiceless sound and j is a voiced sound. So let us look at the diagram here. I have pointed out the blade of the tongue, more particularly the front of the tongue, is raised towards the alveolar ridge, but it is towards the palatal, not exactly the middle of the alveolar ridge, towards little bit towards the palatal, that is the beginning of the hard palate, and there your closure takes place. So there is a close contact between the blade of the tongue and the passive articulator palato-alveolar. Why do I call it palato-alveolar? That place is the beginning of the alveolar and the end of the palatal. Okay, that way also you can say, if you start counting from the lip side, end of the alveolar and the beginning of the hard palate. So that part is being brushed by the blade of the tongue, and there is a complete closure between the active articulator tongue and passive articulator palato-alveolar. That's why this sound is called palato-alveolar sound. So let us look at this. Third, it is called affricate. So there is a kind of friction in the sound. Ch, ch, j, ch, j. You will realize that a hissing kind of sound is created at the time of the production of these two sounds. That's why this is called affricate. Very minutely, if you observe ch, j, the exact tip of the tongue, you will find that effect over there also. Okay, a kind of friction is taking place. And so this sound is called palato-alveolar affricate sound. So let us see the three-term label here. So ch is a voiceless palato-alveolar affricate consonant sound, and j is a voiced palato-alveolar affricate consonant sound. Let us go to the next sound here. Now I am getting into the fricative sounds. There are 9 fricative sounds in English phonetics, and the first pair of them is f, w, f, w. So dear students, one thing you need to remember, so when I am trying to pronounce these sounds, you need to pronounce as they are suggested at the time of the description of the sound. In Marathi or Hindi, when you produce the f sound, that is totally, I am saying totally labial sound. P, p, fan. Fan in Marathi or Hindi, when you pronounce, okay, or you make it Marathi oriented accent, that becomes labio. But actually, the sounds f and w are labiodental in English. When I say the word fan with Marathi accent, that is fan, so it becomes labio. But when I try to pronounce it with English standards, now you see the difference between the pronunciation. Fan, fan, pan, fan, pan, fan. So the fan is labio pronunciation that I am intentionally doing because we are habitual to do in Marathi or Hindi. But when you pronounce with English accent, so that becomes labiodental. Means how you should do it? The lower lip should slightly be moved towards the upper front teeth. The upper front teeth should brush or should touch to the inner side of the lower lip, and then you should be able to pronounce f, w. See here, f, w, f, w, f, w, f, w. So this way you should be able to pronounce. Now, so you understood now why do I call it labiodental? Labio means lips, dental means teeth. So there is a closure between the two organs of body. That is, one is lip, lower lip, and other is teeth, that is upper teeth. That's why it is called labiodental. Why do you call it a fricative? Because that fricative is the third description of this particular sound or this group of sounds. So there is a friction when you produce this sound. Okay, let us look at it and listen to me carefully. F is a voiceless, labiodental, fricative, consonant sound. Whereas V is a voiced, labiodental, fricative, consonant sound. So please be careful about the proper reading of the diagrams also. So in the diagram, you can see that the blade of the tongue is at the resting position. It is not at all an active articulator here. Of course, without the help of it, we cannot pronounce, but it is at a resting position as such. The lower lip is raising towards the upper teeth. Upper teeth is slightly brushing to the inner part of the lower lip. And when that contact is released, that closure is released, then only we can produce f, w, f, w. Okay, fan, van, fan, van, likewise. So this is the pair over here. Now I move to the next slide. Here you have the another pair of fricative sound. Th, the, th, the, th, the. What are these two? Please don't call it theta or some other else or something else. So that first one is th, second one is the, th, the, th, the. So what is this all about? Let us look at the first one now. I mean to say th. Th is a voiceless dental fricative consonant sound, and the is carefully the blade of the tongue, that is the tip of the tongue, front of the tongue, is raised towards the upper teeth, front of the tongue brushes to the alveolar ridge. Okay, there is a firm contact between the tongue and the passive articulator, that is the teeth and alveolar ridge. When the air comes from the lungs is prohibited or stopped over there in the mouth cavity, when the closure is released, there is a considerable friction in the voice or in the air, and then the production of th and the takes place. How it happens actually? See here now. Th is a voiceless dental fricative consonant sound, whereas the is a voiced dental fricative consonant sound. Why do you call it dental? One reason. The active articulator tongue touches to the upper teeth from inside, and that's why these two are called dental sounds. Why do you call it a fricative? Because there is a considerable friction in the air when we produce these sounds, like th, th, the, th, the, th, the. And the closure which is created over here is released. As soon as you release the closure, the production of the sound takes place. Okay, so this is how you need to pronounce these two fricative sounds, that is th and the. Let us look at the another pair here. S, z, s, z. S is a voiceless alveolar fricative consonant sound, whereas z is a voiced alveolar fricative consonant sound. Why do you call it alveolar? Again, you go back to the place of articulation. The active articulator tongue raises towards the teeth ridge or the alveolar ridge. There is a contact between the two, s, z, very narrow passage is left over in between in order to release the pulmonic air coming from the lungs. You can notice it very easily. There is a very thin, narrow passage provided in order to release the air. S, s, z, s, z, s, z. Okay. And through that narrow passage, the air coming from the lungs is released, and then we are in a position to pronounce these two fricative sounds, that is s and z. So s is a voiceless because considerable friction is not noticed here. So s is a voiceless alveolar fricative consonant sound, and z, in the case of z, the vibration in the vocal cords is quite considerable, so it is called a voiced sound. So z is a voiced alveolar fricative consonant sound. All these things I have clearly pointed out in the diagram provided on your screen. So these are the some of the selected sounds for this class today. So we'll just do one thing. The remaining sounds we will try to take in the subsequent class. Okay, due to the time constraints and the time conditions imposed by this online platform, I need to stop this class for the day. Okay. Thank you for joining the class. Thank you very much. Good day.